The format this evening, we did a coin flip. Nancy won the coin flip and selected to go first in the forum tonight. She will speak for 3 minutes as an opening statement, and Gary will speak for 3 minutes on his opening statement, and then we'll begin questions. We'll begin same order. We'll start, she'll get first question, first chance. Second question, Mr. Schimmel will get question that first opportunity at that. They'll have 3 minutes to answer the question. After that, they'll have up to 2 minutes to respond or rebut to the previous person's reply, so we can see a little bit of give and take back and forth. We have white index cards similar to this right over there. Any questions at all you'd like to ask the candidates, I'd ask you to fill those out and bring them to Ken. Okay. we normally filter them through, but it is kind of a small group tonight, so it saves Ken the trip forward. You know, you get old like that, you can't walk very far, right, Ken?
I'm old and tired.
Anyway, thank you all for coming. I think without further ado, I will begin with Nancy Malone, opening statement.
Okay. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Nancy Malone, and I am running for Kelso City Council position number 7. I believe in Kelso. I believe in the community and the citizens of Kelso, and I believe that we need change in Kelso. We have council people that are on the current council that have been there for a number of years. I find when I listen to the city council meetings that there are questions that are not being asked of the department heads and or the city manager. I feel that those questions are ones that either they're not sure of, that's why they don't ask them, or maybe they just don't want to know the answer. I myself, I will ask the question. I want to know the answer. I want to know why some of the things are happening in Kelso and nobody's doing anything about it. I plan on working hard to get a full-time nuisance abatement officer. In the last year, we had over 380 some complaints with a part-time nuisance abatement officer. This year, we have 260 complaints, and we're in September. So therefore, I'm going to work hard to get a full-time nuisance abatement officer. And I'm also going to work hard on our street department, our building department, our planning department, and I'm going to work hard on, bringing revitalization to our downtown Kelso area. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Schimmel?
My name is Gary Schimmel, and I've been on the city council for several years now. And when I moved here in 1999, with my family, we settled in North Kelso, and since then, our family has grown to 9 children. And been involved in the Kelso School District, maintaining the facilities in the facility department since then. And then I've also been involved with coaching youth wrestling through many of those years. And so I enjoy working with families and the children that are coming up through the school system. Since I've been on the council, I've had a lot to learn, obviously, and we've also had to make some hard decisions with reducing our expenditures because of our revenue decreasing. But now we see a steady but slow increase in our revenues, and because of that, we've been able to start adding back staff that we've had to cut over the years. And so our services are going to be enhanced. I think we just need to be patient as we see those sales taxes increase. And then, of course, our property tax, we're limited by the 1% increase each year. But as those things happen, we see businesses coming in, which is helping increase our tax revenue. And we already have some plans to add police officers, to increase the amount of staffing in our community development department. And of course, our street department was cut to fairly nothing, and our parks department as well. But we do have plans to increase those departments so that our services can be enhanced. So I look forward to what we can expect. We already see some improvements in those things, and I also want to continue for the next 4 years to be involved in those decisions as they have to be made. And so I ask for your vote.
Thank you. Before we get to the first question, it occurred to me I didn't ask, can you both read the signs when Ken holds up 2 minutes or 1 minute? Or
I can't.
could we maybe sneak you a little bit closer, Ken, so they can see the timing sign?
Will they help? Yes, I will.
Yeah, I'll move over to that table over there.
All right. Should be, of course, it'll be a little bit farther for you, maybe, or about the
No,
same
I'm fine.
distance, I guess. But
I know when he raises his
If-
hand that it's time to get.
well, I think if he gets close, he'll shake the card too to get our attention. But okay, first question of the evening will be directed to Mrs. Malone, and it is: do you believe that there is a present problem with affordable housing in Kelso? In your opinion, what is the role of the City Council in dealing with both present and future housing issues in Kelso?
Yes, I do believe there is a problem with affordable housing. I think that the city council, as well as the community, we all need to work together to address this. It's not just the city of Kelso's problem. I believe that it is a community problem, and we all need to work together. I believe that there are some viable buildings around there. I think we need to work more with our landlords, our property owners, especially our out-of-town landlords, because we have a lot of them. They seem to jack up their rent and do absolutely nothing to the building, and the people are left, stranded, because if they complain about them, they come to the city and want the city to do something about it. They want the city to condemn the building, which in return leaves them out on the street. And that's not good either. So we, as the city, we need to work on how we can resolve this. The buildings that need to be looked at, meet with the landowners, meet with property owners, and work together to see what we can do to, and not only that, but work with the organizations, work with CAP, Habitat for Humanity. We've worked with those people in the past. We can continue to work with them again. So when I'm on council, if and when I'm on the council, I will be working hard to work with CAP and Habitat for Humanity and the other support systems that we have.
All right. Thank you. Mr. Schimmel, same question. Do you want me to reread it?
Please.
Do you believe that there is a present problem with affordable housing in Kelso? In your opinion, what is the role of the City Council in dealing with both present and future housing issues in Kelso?
So one of our goals that the City Council has described is to help encourage home ownership. And so there's been several programs that we are able to allocate funds for building affordable housing and also to encourage home ownership. And that's, one of them is, the acronym is CBDG. And so once a year, we have the opportunity to allocate their funds to a program. Some years it's been the CAP, some years it's been to Habitat for Humanity. And so that's just one opportunity. The city does not build homes, but we certainly can encourage the building of homes through our community development department. And the other issues that have to do with building houses, one of the things that was described to us is that Kelso doesn't have very many parcels to build new homes. So that's one of the limitations that the city of Kelso has. So we are looking into, I forget the term, but it's basically to expand the city boundaries and then to maybe encourage more home ownership through building new houses that way. So the city council has certain policy decisions that have to be made. But we don't necessarily, we're not in the business of building houses, so we have to encourage that to happen through developers.
Thank you.
Are you talking annexation of adjacent properties into the city?
Annexation, yes.
Okay, and are they looking north or south Kelso? Are they looking at properties that are in South Kelso that are currently in the county that have city water but no sewer?
The annexation that we have discussed is what they call the donut holes in South Kelso.
Okay.
And I would say that there's been very little but some discussion to the north, but those are all developed properties with houses on them already. But this is one of the issues that Kelso has is there's not much areas to expand out to. And so does that answer the question that you had?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, that's exactly what I thought. I just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah.
A little outside of the scope of what we were planning to do, but it was a great interaction, so I was not going to interrupt it. So as long as it's appropriate and even, we'll continue as best we can. I think we both had a chance to speak.
Yes.
I just want to know if you would like a
Yep.
chance to respond or
No,
rebut?
I'm
Or
fine, thank you.
you're okay, and
Oh,
then we'll
yes.
move on? Okay. Next question, this one will be directed first to Mr. Schimmel. What is your vision for the Kelso Airport?
My vision is that the city of Kelso would not have to be a major financier for it. I would like for it to have its own entity that is funding it through whatever means they decide. They already have an airport board that has representation from the Longview and Kelso, the port, and the county. And so I hope that it can separate from the city of Kelso and be on its own. They do have plans to expand the runway so they can bring in more types of services and larger planes so they can accomplish more with the airport. But it has a long-term plan, and that's what I hope for it. It's already considered a regional airport, so.
Thank you. Same question. Would you like me to repeat it, or?
Please.
What is your vision for the Kelso Airport?
I'm not necessarily going to say that I have a vision for the Kelso Airport, but in years past, there's been much discussion about, we have the rail that's right there. Why aren't we utilizing that rail? We only have a few planes that utilize our airport. If you increase the runway and you increase the space of the airport, you also increase the airspace, thereby limiting the number of businesses and the signs that they can have within that airspace. So, in reality, is that the best use for that property? Would it not serve the community and the county and the citizens in Kelso, Longview, and Cowlitz County better if you utilize the rail system? Excuse me. And you have buildings there, industrial buildings, like Kalama. Look what they have. We could do the same thing. So that's one of my goals, is to delve more into that airport and that situation.
All right, thank you.
Hey,
Mr. Schimmel?
So
Sponsor rebuttal?
I agree. There's a lot of potential to utilize the rails there. And so one of the things that I do know that we've authorized the city manager to do a study of land further south of what is currently developed as a commercial property on the south side of the Longview Y. And so beyond that, south of that, there's a triangular piece of property that they are going to look at what is the potential for that property, whether it's light industrial or industrial. And I think since the rail lines go through that, it will, who knows exactly what they're going to recommend yet, but it has a lot of potential for that type of use, as Mrs. Malone had suggested.
Thank you. Mrs. Malone, response or rebuttal?
That particular piece of property I'm very familiar with. And The problem with that particular piece of property is there's no access to that property. There's currently a little underpass that goes underneath the road that actually goes underneath the freeway, if I'm not mistaken, that is wide enough for a pickup truck. I don't believe a logging truck could fit through there. There's the height requirement. There is not enough height in there. So in order for anybody to develop that property or do anything, I believe there would be a major, major expense.
Thank you. The next question came from the audience, and I will request in the future if anybody puts questions up here, print. Sometimes it's hard for me to read, but I gathered parts of this, and I'm going to ask it in two areas, and I just ask, this will be directed to Mrs. Malone first. Two concepts on the card, whether the city manager system versus a mayor concept, and West Kelso, First Avenue, the buildings falling down, those issues as well. So it really is kind of broad, but we will begin.
Okay, if I understand your question correctly, as far as whether we want to have a city manager system as we currently have versus mayor, I support the current system, the city manager. However, saying that, it's not that I'm in favor of the way it is being handled currently. I think there are major changes. I believe the council needs to work more with the staff and the department heads and not just the city manager, because you only get the input from that city manager. You do not get the input from the people that work with the city manager, especially when you have a new city manager. I mean, I understand that the council wants to trust the city manager, but sometimes you need to go a little bit outside of the box. Also, as far as West Main, I wasn't a proponent for West Main. So, and right now I'm just a little dissatisfied with West Main because there's been so many accidents, and it's very hard when you're going down West Main and you get to Cowlitz Way and you used to continue to go, and now everybody's not sure what to do. So there's an issue there, but we can work through that as well. I mean, you know, it's new, and some people don't like roundabouts, so they are confused about roundabouts. So we can work through this as well. And as far as the old building there on the corner, I believe that should have been torn down before they started working on West Main. That's my answer to that question.
Thank you. Mr. Schimmel, it is a bit convoluted. You want to, it's basically your position on manager versus mayor concept, and then the West Kelso First Main buildings.
I support the city manager concept, and I think it's been very valuable for the city. Obviously, every city manager is going to have his own way of administrating the city, and so I support our current city manager. I think he's doing a good job. One of the things that I've learned since I've been on the city council is that the city council's job is for policy making, not necessarily getting involved in the day-to-day operation of the city. And so there's been times where I've been able to contact a director or another employee just to ask questions about why is it this way. And then a lot of times I'll follow up with the city manager just to make sure it's the right answer, I guess. And then as far as the West Main, I think it's a work in progress. Obviously, we could not complete the job like the big master plan. So there's a lot more money that has to go into to finishing that. I'm not going to necessarily go and tell a property owner what to do unless the building is unsafe. So I just hope that the property owner for that building that's in question is able or willing to clean it up and make it look nicer. But I don't think that's the job of the city council to go and tell property owners what to do.
Thank you. Mrs. Malone, response or rebuttal?
No, I'm fine.
Mr. Schimmel, would you like any additional time? All right. Question number 4 for this evening. The City of Kelso is currently working with the Council of Governments on a smart growth program, which is targeted toward the downtown area of Kelso and the West Kelso sub-area plan. Both of these programs focus on the future and the economy. Do you consider these programs to be of importance to the City of Kelso? Why or why not? And this is directed first at Mr. Schimmel.
Can you repeat that again?
Yes, you were
please?
second. The City of Kelso is currently working with the Council of Governments on the Smart Growth Program, which is targeted toward the downtown area of Kelso, and the West Kelso Sub-Area Plan. Both of these programs focus on the future and the economy. Do you consider these programs to be of importance to the City of Kelso? Why or why not?
Well, it's important for business owners to know what to expect in regards to any specific regulations, especially design for buildings in a certain area. So I would expect that a plan would help people to see what the vision is for an area. Now, each part of the city may have a desire for a different type of appearance or expectation for signage or building design. So when we make these plans, and if they're going to use smart growth or a different type of concept, then as long as we're consistent with people that are currently there and also any new business owners that come in so that they know what to expect when they either build a building or expand in their building. I think that's what's important, just so that there's some consistency for what that part of the city wants. And so I look forward to seeing what the citizens in West Kelso want for their area. And so I'm just looking forward to that.
Okay. Mrs. Malone, same question. Would you like me to reread it? It is a mouthful. The City of Kelso is currently working with the Council of Governments on the Smart Growth Program, which is targeted toward the downtown area of Kelso, and the West Kelso Sub-Area Plan. Both of these programs focus on the future and the economy. Do you consider these programs to be of importance to the City of Kelso? Why or why not?
I do consider them to be important to the City of Kelso. I believe that we need to work strong and hard and long with our citizens of Kelso to, I would say, even to go as far as maybe putting some type of a flyer in with their billing to remind them that these are the things that are happening. You know, we have tried many times to change the design, the downtown design guidelines. We've worked with a lot of the business owners, brought them the manual and asked for their input, you know. Help us design something that will help you. And we got nothing in return. So maybe if we involve the citizens, not just the businesses, but the citizens, maybe we'll get something going. Because just because you don't own a business doesn't mean you don't have good ideas. And that would be one thing that I would like to work on. And the other thing, as far as West Main goes, I believe there is a West Main sub-area plan, or West Kelso sub-area plan. And it has never, I don't believe that it's actually ever been followed. So I would be curious to know what it is that the Council of Governments and the city are going to do with what they already have. Are they going to incorporate a portion of that document into the existing, or are they going to rewrite something entirely new? And I would be interested in working on that project.
Thank you. Mr. Schimmel, response or rebuttal?
Yeah, it's certainly an exciting time for West Kelso. And I think that they are going to kind of just start from scratch. In fact, I just saw a press release tonight from the city that they are going to have 2 forums. One is on September 30th, which is next Wednesday, and the other one's in November. I think, I could be wrong, but I think it's November 13th, which is a Thursday. And so they're going to be at the Kelso Senior Center in Catlin Park there. So that's the first opportunity that everyone is going to have to give input on what should West Kelso look like. And so I hope that everyone can attend because that's just the starting point. There's probably going to be more meetings, more planning that's involved, and unfortunately, we haven't had much input on other open forums in regards to planning. And so what that results in is after it's all implemented and in front of the council, then people show up and think that everything's been planned for them. Well, they've had opportunity. So let's try to get there now before they start writing things out on in black and white.
Thank you. Mrs. Malone, response or rebuttal?
And I agree with what Mr. Schimmel said, but I would like to reiterate that I think that the way we may get people involved is to put some kind of a notice in their sewer, garbage, water bills. Because if you post it in the paper, a lot of people don't get the paper, or a lot of people don't read that. They just skim over it unless it's front page, great big huge picture. So we've had, there's been plenty of planning commission meetings that people have known. They've gone, lots of advertising, and they don't show up to that. So we've got to find a way that we can get our citizens to respond, to show up.
All right, thank you. Next question will be directed first at Mrs. Malone. Describe the infrastructure needs of the city of Kelso, particularly roads, bridges, and utilities, and how these needs should be met.
Well, let's see. We have several roads that really need to be looked at, and it's my understanding that I believe that U Street is one of them. That's been a major problem for years and years. And it's my understanding that there is some talk about some possible grant money that may help take care of that problem. But I've heard that story before, so when it gets started, I'll believe it. I wonder why the industrial area has been repaved. I believe it's like this is the second or third time in the last 3 or 4 years. I'm not sure where that funding is coming from, and I would have to delve more into that. But I'm not understanding why we are paving and taking care of certain areas and we're not taking care of others. Part of it I know is high traffic volume, but does that mean that all of our little normal streets that carry to and from our homes, our schools, are not going to be taken care of? I think we really need to look hard and long at that, and I believe we need to repair some sinkholes. We've got some sinkholes in Kelso, and all they do is patch them. They dig them up, they put a patch in there, and I'll be darned if not 3-4 months go by, and it's sinking again. And right down from my house, not very far. This is the second time within 3 months that the city of Kelso is digging up the street for a major sinkhole. They have the street blocked up. So I'm not understanding if they don't know what they're doing, if, it's bad material. I don't know why, but we need to look at that. Is it the sewer lines? Is it the water lines? What do we need to do to take care of that? Yes, they do need to be repaired, and yes, we do need to look at that and study it further.
Thank you. Same question, Mr. Schimmel. Would you like me to
Please.
repeat the question? Describe the infrastructure needs of the city of Kelso, particularly roads, bridges, and utilities, and how these needs should be met.
Yeah. So anytime you put somebody to work to repair something, it costs money. And so Kelso gets funding from lots of different sources. Obviously one is from the citizens through local taxes, sales tax, and property tax. And then we also look towards the state for money in their budget. Obviously they haven't been willing to give a lot, but we did find out this year that we are going to get access to some money from the state that's been allocated, and also possibly take advantage of applying for loans. The point that needs to be made here is that everything costs money. Some would advocate that we should increase the tax rates on the citizens to pay for them, and that's certainly an option. But how much are the citizens really willing to give more to take care of more roads faster, or to build or to repair other parts of the infrastructure? The biggest piece of infrastructure that we're in the process of replacing is a large water reservoir up on Mount Brennan Road, up around that intersection. And so that's going to cost a huge amount of money. Fortunately, the state was willing to give up some to help with that. But it's still going to require us to raise our water rates to pay for the rest of it. As far as our streets, I think we're starting to improve on giving more money towards to do more street repair. But there's also different funding sources to pay for different types of streets. And that's one thing that's complicated, is to address what Nancy had mentioned, is why this road and not this road, which is worse? Well, that road that got the attention has a different funding source, and that money is more readily available in coming to the city. Whereas this street doesn't meet that criteria, so we don't have enough money to deal with that. So there's a lot of complicated criteria that it would be hard to go into in this type of forum.
Thank you. Mrs. Malone, response or rebuttal?
No.
Mr. Schimmel,
No.
any additional time? Next question, question number 6, will be addressed to Mr. Schimmel first. In your opinion, what is the best way to address the homeless problem in the local area?
Well, the county has allocated funds to help in that respect. The Love Overwhelming project has been funded through dollars that the county has allocated to them, and they're trying to meet a need that hasn't been met up to this point. We have a lot of great organizations and programs in our county that are taking care of homeless folks, but there's some that still need help that haven't been met yet. So there's lots of programs, but there's still lots of homeless people that are desperate and trying to find their way through this life. If the city council has an opportunity to develop a policy towards homelessness, I would listen. But right now, the city doesn't have anything on the table, but the county is directing that effort right now.
Thank you. Mrs. Malone, same question. Do you need to?
Yes, please.
In your opinion, what is the best way to address the homeless problem in the local area?
Well, we do have programs out there where we have been working with the homeless people. We do work with CAP, and we work with LifeWorks and Habitat for Humanity and Community House, just to name a few. We are currently working with Love Overwhelming. Love Overwhelming has some issues that they need to work out, but I think for all intents and purposes, their ultimate goal is something good. But we need to look at those. We also need to look at this as not just the city of Kelso problem. It's a community problem. So we as a community need to look together. We need to work hand in hand with our law enforcement and also all of our support system. We need to work hard and together with the county. I mean, it's not just the city of Kelso's problem. It's a community problem. And I think between Longview, Cowlitz County, Woodland, Castle Rock, Kalama, Kelso, we can all work together to develop a system that will help and work for the community of Cowlitz County.
Thank you. Mr. Schimmel, response or rebuttal?
I have none. Thank you.
Would you like any additional time since you're, all right. Question 7 will be directed first at Mrs. Malone. Please share the work experience you have had that will benefit your service to the City Council.
Well, I can tell you that I have had approximately 25 years in government. I've worked with the Treasurer's Office in Skagit County. I've worked with Department of Fish and Wildlife. I've worked with Department of Natural Resources. I've worked on the Assessor's Office. I've worked in planning and permitting. And I have approximately 25 years' experience in both county government and city government. And I enjoy city government much more than I did county government. And I don't really know why I do, but I do. And maybe it's because it's more one-on-one. You know, especially for a small community, you only have a certain number of people that you see, you know, and interact with. And so you get on that first name basis. They come in to get a permit and, you know, hi, how are you? And you see them on the street and, you know, how's my permit going or whatever. In the county, it's a whole different ball game. So not only that, but I've worked with a number of jurisdictions, you know, Fish and Wildlife, Ecology, Washington State Department of Transportation. I still have friends that work in these organizations, and we still communicate, and I have a good rapport with them, and I think that if elected, I will carry on with that rapport, and I will have the connections that we need to ask the questions that could be asked.
Thank you. Mr. Schimmel, same question. Would you like me to? Yes. Please share the work experience you have had that will benefit your service on the City Council.
Being involved and working in Kelso School District and also the families that are involved in the school district, I've been able to understand some of their opinions of what should happen in Kelso. I also have a lot of contact with contractors, people that are doing business in Kelso. So I feel like I have a good handle on what their needs are so that they can help in the city. And I've only been on the City Council for, I think it's about 5 years now. And so beyond that, I don't have inside experience with city or county or state government. But again, the City Council is establishing policies, and we trust and depend on our manager, directors, and other employees that are actually on the ground doing the work to serve our citizens. And so that's what I come to the council as, is just a servant for our folks here in Kelso.
Thank you. Response or rebuttal, Mrs. Small?
Yes. I believe that it's a city council's responsibility to serve the community and the citizens in Kelso. But I believe that it's also the city council's responsibility to know what they're talking about when it comes to serving the citizens. They need to know what those codes and those regulations are. They can't depend on a city manager or a department head to walk them through every step of the way. I will not do that. I know what the codes say. I will be up and ready. I may not be on the top of the chart with the budget, but that will come. But I already know what those codes say. I already know what the people want, and I'm willing to work for that. And I will work for that if elected.
Thank you. Any response? No. All right. Question number 8, and I should point out that I forgot to mention at the beginning of this, I don't take questions that are highly slanted one way or the other, if they're make kind of a political statement. However, we had a couple of similar questions that have come up, and I'm not as familiar with the City of Kelso, but I'm going to use the one that's more neutral here. Directed to Mr. Schimmel first. What do you think of the City of the Kelso City Council excluding one of the elected City Council members from any city businesses? And I don't know what the issue is because I'm not familiar with
The excluding,
What do you think of this Kelso City Council excluding one of the elected city council members from any city business?
I don't think we've excluded any specific council person from city business.
I wasn't
So
aware of that either, but.
I don't understand the question then.
All right, Mrs. Malone, same question.
I can only say that this is all hearsay, so I don't have any facts, but I believe that there is one city council person that does not have a committee, has not been appointed to a committee to be on. And that's all I can say for that.
With that clarification, any response? Or-
Okay, well, if that is the issue, then I'm not going to respond to that.
All right. I guess you do have 2 more. All right. We will move forward from there. A question that came up multiple times in the course of the council or city council debate yesterday. In light of the APPW, and this would go to Mrs. Malone first. No. Yes, it would go to Mrs. Malone first. In light of the APPW and teacher strikes, would you cross a picket line?
No, I would not cross the picket line.
Any
That is
elaboration,
my
or
answer.
that's okay?
That is my answer.
Mr. Schimmel?
Will you please say it
Yes.
again? Make sure I understand.
In light of the AWPPW and teacher strikes, would you cross the picket line?
Well, in regards to the teacher, I'm not going to address that because I don't work at Fiber. I think that's irrelevant to what I would do. I think it's important for the members of those unions to have their voice, and that's what they're trying to accomplish.
Okay, thank you. We do have opportunities to respond or rebut.
Okay.
I assume you're,
fine.
all right. Question number 10 will be directed to Mr. Schimmel first. Given budget constraints and the difficulty of continuing to provide the services that citizens desire, would you be in favor of pursuing a major partnership or combination of services with the City of Longview or Cowlitz County? Please describe your vision of future government services in the local area.
There has been a vote of our citizens, both in Longview and Kelso, whether we should combine cities. That has been voted down, so I'm fine with what our citizens have said on that. But when it comes to services, there's certain services that can be done more efficiently if we're sharing people in doing that service. So if it makes sense, let's see how it works and go forward. One good example of this is our library. So the City of Longview and the City of Kelso, the library directors have come to a 1-year agreement to see how we can do a sharing of our books and other things that we have in our libraries. And so I have a Longview library card, and I know that a lot of citizens have crossed over, I guess you could say, and so the library services are being shared. One thing that our police departments have done, and this has been going on for a while now, so it's not a new thing, but when a major incident is happening in one city, the police forces from other areas around kind of gravitate to that area to help and support each other. So they have this agreement amongst each other that we're going to help if we need to. So there's probably other opportunities that we're not thinking about right now. There used to be a regular meeting of the county and the city's leaders that came together and talked about this. And how can we share certain things that to make it more efficient, reduce our costs amongst all the entities, and share things. And in fact, even within the school districts, we have a networking that hey, we've already had this discussion. Okay, if we need a tractor, who has a tractor? Can we borrow your tractor instead of going and buying our own tractor? So this is just a small example of what we can do as cities and with the county to help each other so that we're not duplicating something that we can help with each other on.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. Malone, same question?
Could you please repeat?
Certainly. Given budget constraints and the difficulty of continuing to provide the services that citizens desire, would you be in favor of pursuing a major partnership or combination of services with the City of Longview or Cowlitz County? Please describe your vision of future government services in the local area.
Well, I know that currently the City of Kelso is using the Building and Planning Department from Longview, and that has created some problems for the people in Kelso. When they need to get a hold of a building inspector, they can't get a hold of that building inspector because they cannot call Longview to talk to him, to ask him a question about their permit or about their inspection. So they have to wait until a certain time in the afternoon, if it's not on a Friday, and they can call. And if he's not out in the field, then maybe they will get their question answered. I think that is wrong. I don't believe that the citizens and/or the contractors should have to wait. You know, we're contracting with these people. Why don't we have our own? I'm not understanding that. The same thing with our planning department. I love Longview. The planners over there are wonderful. I absolutely got along spectacular with them and still do to this day. But do we really need to have our staff assistant call Longview to answer a question about our planning department? There is no one in our planning department that can answer a question regarding planning. I know this for a fact because I've been in Longview when they've gotten the calls. So I'm very concerned about that. What is that doing for Kelso? It's not doing a darn thing for Kelso. You know, so somebody needs to start looking at, this is what I'm talking about, the city council. They depend on that city manager to give them all these answers, but they never ask that question. If you don't ask that question, what is going on with our department, how the heck are you going to get the answer? And I may have went off track a little bit, and I apologize, but I'm very adamant about that. I mean, I think it's good to share with the county and Longview, Castle Rock, Woodland, Kalama, everyone, because we're all in this county together. But as far as having our own building and planning department, we need to have that. Our own parks department, we need to have that. It needs to stay in Kelso.
Thank you. Mr. Schimmel, response or rebuttal?
Yeah, I did forget about our relationship with Longview in regards to our community development. So to speak to that, I am a person that has gotten many permits from the city of Kelso to do work in the school district. And so I've been able to had to go and get plans submitted, plan for plan review, and get permits and inspections and go through all that process. And I've always had great responses from our community development department. And even now that we call upon the City of Longview's inspector and plan reviewer, I've been able to work with that just as easily. And when I have a question, I'm not sure if you heard the experiences, but my personal experience is that I've been able to get a hold of him, and not just in the plan review process, but also the permitting process and in the inspections. He's always been very responsive. And yes, he's not available for 8 hours a day, but and not available on Fridays, like you said. So there's some limitation to that. But for me, it hasn't been that big of a deal. And also, when I talk to other contractors, what they like is the consistency between the two cities. So when they're doing jobs in Longview and Kelso, they have the same inspector sometimes. And so they can expect the same thing on both sides of the river. So I think there's some efficiencies and some great things that have come along with it.
Thank you. Mrs. Malone?
I have a rebuttal,
Response?
yes. And Gary, I don't know which contractors you've talked to, but the contractors I've talked to, there is no consistency. They get their permits in Longview when they work there. They get their permits in Kelso. And in Longview, their inspections are entirely different than what they are in Kelso. So I'm not going to say you're wrong, and I'm not going to say that I'm completely right. All I'm going to say is that we need to look at this. And the reason why maybe you didn't have any problems is because you're a city council person.
I know it's tempting, but that was the last response. However, we are moving into closing statements. You'll have the opportunity to move first, and if you choose to address something as part of your closing statement, you may do so, but 3 minutes for closing statement.
I just, again, want to continue serving the citizens of Kelso. I've only been on the council for one full term, and so I want to continue to be there, available to address policy issues as we go forward. We do see an increase of activity economically, and also there's a lot of opportunities here in the future. It does take an environment that is that business owners have a desire to expand in their business, but also a desire to bring new businesses here to Kelso. And all this takes a lot of time, long-range planning, and so our council has a mentality that we realize that the economic development of our town doesn't just affect us, but it affects a larger community. And so we've been able to have those partnerships with Longview and the county to help facilitate that. So I am just asking for your vote again, and asking you to allow me to be a part of this for another 4 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Schimmel. Mrs. Malone, closing statement.
I have not lived in Kelso that long. I've lived here since 2001. My husband and I own our own home in South Kelso. We have 6 children together. I love Kelso. I love what Kelso stands for. I love the fact that we have the train station right there. I love the fact that the people communicate so well with certain individuals, not necessarily the city council or the city people, but they do among themselves. I believe that we can bring Kelso back. I believe we have to work hard, we have to be strong, we have to be diligent, but I believe that we can do it together as a community, as a city, as a team. And therefore, I'm asking for your vote. I believe that with all my heart and soul that I can do a good job. I believe I bring a lot of knowledge and a lot of information with me. I believe that, well, I know that I'm only one of 7, so therefore, it might not change right away, but I do believe that it will change, and therefore, I ask you to vote for me. Thank you.
Thank you. First of all, thank both candidates for speaking. I would like to especially thank Ken Botero for organizing these forums. I appreciate that, Ken. Thank all of you for attending, for Duaine recording KLTV, a reporter from the Daily News. They took the time to come here. Please be thankful of that and do that. I always say the biggest thanks for the candidates because they are putting themselves forward. It's not easy to step out in front of people and do that and to serve the community, so we need to be very appreciative of those candidates. The last thing I request, I always like to learn new things, so if you have any suggestions, any thoughts of how we could improve our forums, please let us know. I had 2 great suggestions last night. I was not able to incorporate them because of work, but I will suggest to Ken a couple ideas in the future. So with that, thank you all. Appreciate you coming.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gary.
Thank you, Mark, for being here.